Well, hello and welcome, everyone. Please take your seats. We are so excited to have you all here. Do you know how to turn the music down? Well, we are so excited. This is the first event that Katie and I have ever held in New York City, and it's so fabulous having all of you here to celebrate this with us. Yeah, I'll start with the housekeeping. There are restrooms just down the hall and to the left. So I'm now very excited because today we are launching our wonderful new book, Women Living Fearlessly. And this book has been co-authored by 25 incredible women from all over the world. And we are so delighted to have some of these authors with us today. We've been celebrating down in Times Square, where the authors were featured on a billboard, and we had a photo shoot as well, which was so much fun. So it's just so exciting. Congratulations to all of our authors. Please give them a hand. Okay, so I'd like to welcome them up, but I'll call them one by one. So Andrea Carter, please join me. Andrea is a devoted mother of 2 neurodiverse children and a loving partner to her undergraduate sweetheart of nearly 30 years, holding a master's in industrial and organizational psychology with a minor in social justice. Andrea specializes in strategic human resource management. Currently, Andrea serves as an adjunct professor at Adler University and as a senior consultant for equity, diversity, inclusion, and belonging. Please give her a big hand. Thank you, Andrea. Take a seat. Take a seat. Yes. So we also have Liz Courtney here, and Liz is an international translational science communicator working in the field of climate and sustainability. Honoured with the 100 Women of Influence Award and inducted into the Australian Businesswomen's Hall of Fame, she switched stilettos to snow boots to create compounding narratives around climate change for a better planet for our children. Please welcome Liz. We also have Bernadette Alonso Cortez with us, and Bernadette is an Australian legal practitioner, and she stands as a beacon of resilience, determination, and unwavering dedication. She's currently the CEO of Educare International and on the brink of opening her own practice, Cortez Lawyers. Bernadette's journey is nothing short of inspirational. Please make her welcome. Oh, she'll be here in a minute. Tiffany James. So Tiffany is the dynamic founder of Encouraging Touch Enterprises, a seasoned motivational speaker, writer, coach, MC, spoken word artist, and storyteller. Tiffany is dedicated to inspiring individuals to embrace their authentic selves and confidently navigate life's diverse spaces. She is unwavering in her commitment to ensuring that everyone she meets feels genuinely seen, heard, and valued. Please make Tiffany very welcome. Ellie Sheffy is here with us. Ellie is a fierce advocate and change maker. Ellie is an international best-selling author, a speaker, strategist, attorney, publisher, consultant, and advisor for organizations. She uses her 30-plus years of combined experience in law, business, education, and human, civil, and constitutional rights advocacy to give a voice to the voiceless, fight against injustice, and create opportunity for everyone. Please make her very welcome. We also have Sophia Calvo here. Sophia is an entrepreneur, designer, lawyer, and inventor from Lima, Peru. She serves as the general manager and head of the department of the international magazine, The Designer, in Peru. She brings her culture to the world through her vision, hard work, and determination, which have led her to extend the magazine to another country, Colombia. The Designer is an art and culture magazine based in Stockholm, Sweden. Please make Sophie very welcome. Our next author is Mercedes Soraya. Mercedes is a technologist who joined Deloitte as a senior software engineer, leading the knowledge management team. She worked with the most cutting-edge technologies and was the only female in a team of 40 people. She was quickly promoted to manager and then channel leader for ethics and compliance. Her role has involved leading engineering teams to work on applications that have been used by over 200,000 people around the world. Please make her very welcome. We also have Justine Cox here. Justine is a relationship-centered leadership specialist and the visionary founder of the Leaders Change Room. With over 2 decades of experience transforming leaders and organizations, she's led teams of all sizes, from small groups to large, complex organizations. Justine is known for supporting managers in being their best, driving change, and fostering high-performance environments grounded in trust and relationships. Her hands-on experience in leadership and operations makes her an invaluable resource for management teams. Please make her very welcome. We also have Samantha J with us today. Samantha J is an award-winning entrepreneur, hailed as the Illuminator by Forbes for her trailblazing approach to purpose-led entrepreneurship. Turning her personal traumas into sources of hope, she's created a multi-8-figure empire by the age of 22. Overcoming challenges and mental health issues, Samantha J has developed her unique methodology, the Illuminator method, to help entrepreneurs find deep fulfillment while building the life and empire of their dreams. Please make her very welcome. Oh my gosh, these incredible women. Please give them another round of applause. I'm so excited to have them all here. Okay, well, I'd love to start by asking each of you, what was the message that you wanted to share when you were writing your chapter? So we'll start with you, Samantha.
Hello, everyone. I think the message that I wanted to share was that what makes you broken makes you beautiful. I think a lot of the time as women, we strive for this idea of perfection. And that a lot of the time stopped me from putting my name forward, from stepping into the spotlight, because I didn't want anybody to see what was broken about me. And that was the ultimate paradox, because my trauma and what was broken about me was why I wanted to make a difference in the world. And that was often the very thing that didn't give me the courage and confidence to put my name forward and to step into that spotlight. So when I instead reframed that, and I was like, well, what if that is the permission slip for another woman? What if I step into the spotlight and I actually share that I'm doing this and I still don't feel perfect, I don't feel enough, and that vulnerability became my superpower to give other women the permission slip to go forward too.
That's beautiful. Mercedes.
Hey. My goal writing this book was to let everybody know that it doesn't matter where you're from or what conditions you're born into, you can achieve anything that you put your mind to. In my case, I was born in South America, and I wasn't one of those people who had a maid or they never did dishes or anything like that. I was a poor kid. So, and somehow by hard work, I now have my own company in the United States. We went public 2 years ago. We're trading in NASDAQ, and we have, thank you.
That's incredible.
Thank you. So applying the technology that I learned, I was able to get to that point and to basically have the American dream that everybody talks about, but it required a lot of hard work. And I document all of that work in that book.
Sophia.
I know speak English, but my friend traducción. La pregunta. Okay. Gracias. Gracias. La pregunta.
La pregunta dice, ¿qué es lo que quería comunicar con escribir el texto?
Ok. Gracias a todos ustedes por estar acá, chicas, cambiando la diferencia.
Thank you to everyone for being here and making a difference.
Al hacer la historia de mi vida, fue para que las demás mujeres vieran el efecto y el dolor que tenemos algunas mujeres y cómo lo cambiamos a la resiliencia, al amor y al perdón.
Her goal to write in the book was to make sure that women see that there's a lot of resilience that they need, a lot of effect that they want to make. And she wanted to communicate to everyone that sometimes it's hard, it's been hard for her, and you can get there.
El dolor, en esta historia de vida, el dolor marca un antes y un después en la historia de mi vida y es para hacer un cambio total, para darnos cuenta de que estamos solamente en este planeta un minuto de vida, más no mucho tiempo, y tenemos que dejar un planeta mucho mejor de lo que ya es.
She said that there was a lot of pain before and after what she's been through, but she wanted to communicate that we're all here for a certain amount of time, and there's something that happens after you leave this planet, and she wants to just spread the good vibes kind of thing.
Y por último, el dolor me cambió, el dolor fue parte de un proceso en mi vida que me hizo ver que mirar al prójimo es mucho más saludable, pero primero nosotros mirar el corazón para irradiarlo hacia afuera y creer que los cambios marcan la diferencia cuando miramos el corazón a otros corazones cuando sufren. Gracias.
She said that the pain that she went through, she wants to communicate to people that you should always look to others to help others, no matter what pain you have gone through. And that's what has motivated her to write this book.
So, piggybacking on the wise words of these incredible women, I also wanted to share in my chapter really that each and every one of us, no matter where we've come from, no matter how broken we may have felt at times, each and every one of us has something unique and magical and powerful to share with the world. And it's so important that even imperfect, even broken, even afraid, we step in to ourselves and our power and shine that light. Because as you mentioned, someone in the world is waiting for us to show up fully as us in our power, right? That permission slip, that when you are standing in your authenticity, when you are shining your unique light, it is a permission slip to other women. It is an igniter for other women. It is an example for other women of what's possible and that everything is possible. And so I really just wanted to communicate, ladies, feel the fear and do it anyway. Do it messy, do it imperfect, do it afraid, do it when you're not ready, but just get out there and freaking do it, because someone is waiting on you and they need you to shine your light, and they need that example and they need that permission slip. So get out there, be brave, be bold, and just do it.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. For my purpose for my chapter is to really discuss the elephant in the room and expose it, to talk about the things that we don't really want to talk about, and that is a standard that is set by the masses. And a lot of time that standard, we try to live up to it, societal pressures, and it causes us to shrink back. It causes us not to stand in our true authentic selves. And I really want to address that and understand that when you are invited in these rooms, you belong in the room, that we don't have to be in our heads. We don't have to worry about how we look, how we sound, how we talk, that our doing flows from our being, and just really want to teach women how to be and really shine bright. And one of my favorite quotes that I have, even on my answer machine, is that we're all a beautiful representation of God in the earth realm. And the moment we shrink back, there's a part of him that is not being revealed. And whatever your faith is, but you were created on purpose for a purpose. And I want us to really talk about it and not do lip service, because we do a lot of lip service as women, and to really dismantle those links that imprison us, and that's the link of comparison, competition, and criticism. So I want to give women the tools, and also I don't even want to say permission, because we shouldn't even have to give permission to something that is our right to be. And so, but I love that too, because we do need to sometimes have that. But I also want to teach, we don't even need permission. Like you said, do it anyway. Do it afraid, just make a decision and get out there. So that's my goal. So every woman can feel seen, heard, and valued. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you. And it's hard to follow all these amazing stories. I think when I heard the title of the book, Women Living Fearlessly, it reminded me of my moment in time where I had a sliding door moment where I actually said no to something and woke up the next day and realized it was my fear that was holding me back. And I picked up the phone and rang and said yes to something, which totally changed my life. And I realized that I had used my own mask as a mother, children, people couldn't do without me, who was going to run the schedules, but it was actually my own mask of being fearful. And when I broke through that, I actually found another part of myself I didn't know existed. And I went from being corporate for 20 years to being a film director on the Greenland ice sheet and learning how to deal with bathrooms with a full crew of men, which was pretty funny. Everybody behaved but the dogs. And but you know, it was my moment to say that there are always things that hold us back, but those things are really constraints in our own mind. And when we actually break through that mind and realize that we can do it and we can do it all, that's when we start to change. And that's when we start to change not only ourselves, but our community and our world. And I'm very committed to climate and changing what we can for the next generation. So I was very excited to be part of the book and to be with all these amazing women. So thank you.
Well, I'm not entirely sure what to say after hearing all of you speak already, but what I do know is that I know why I wanted to be part of this book, and all of you are part of that story, and certainly the resonance is there for me. I'm a researcher, so that my background is in science. And what is fascinating for me is that while all of these women are speaking from their heart and really their learned experiences, I've always come through science. And so for me, this was actually a really big leap to walk into a space where I could speak from my heart in a way that I'd never done before, especially because of the confines of academia. My research is in belonging. And so while everyone was talking primarily about DEI, I was really researching what do we actually need in order to create a world where we bring people together. And one of the components of that is actually we have to be able to recognize places where we go from learned helplessness into learned confidence. And it's actually our jobs as individuals to learn how to switch out of that so that we can create spaces of belonging and we can create spaces where everyone gets to thrive and show up and shine. And so I spoke through the lens of my daughter for this chapter, because what I also see is that with our younger generations, they learn helplessness very easily and very young. And that was something I wanted to break. So while I'm here, my daughter had actually said to me coming out here, she was like, "Mom, can I just please have the first copy?" And she's all of 13. She's taller than I am, and I'm a tall woman. And she's just crushing her environment, even though it's really scary. And she's entered into those teenage years, which can be really tricky and hard. And I'm so proud of seeing how she's using some of the tools that she sees learned helplessness and she's choosing to show up in learned confidence. So thank you.
Amazing. Wow. Everybody's lovely and what a nice story she have.
Apparently that one's
It's not working. Is it working now?
Yes.
Maybe I'll just keep going. When I was asked to write this book, I honestly don't know what to write. I don't have any idea what to do. But then I realized and I remembered that I always pose it as I'm here to inspire, not to brag. Because everybody who sees me in my community and in Australia, that I'm an inspiration to them. So I said, I think it's time for me to really like write what happened to me of how I became an inspiration to my community. I am a lawyer by trade, but 20 years of working in the hospitality, and I have seen the worst in different people, but I always like say that there's always good in everyone. And so when I became a lawyer, I said, I'm going to be different because I am a lawyer now. They will no longer discriminate me because I have the power to help people. But then when I was finishing, or like when I was finishing my biggest case at the Supreme Court, I was heavily discriminated, called a monkey, cannot speak English, um, everything that you could ever think of. I said, I'm quitting. I don't want to be a lawyer anymore. But then again, when I went out in there, a lot of people know me and call me attorney. I don't know. Attorney is like a sign of respect if you are a lawyer. So I said, Lord, let it be done. Whatever you want me to be, I'll just like follow the lead. But then when I see again a lot of people and they said to me, you should be a lawyer because you have the heart of a lawyer, because it's not only like the intelligence, it's not about the language, it's not about the diction, it's not about that. It's about helping people. And currently, I'm helping domestic violence in my community. And I do give pro bono for it. And now I'm moving to commercial because I have my own business. And at the same time, I'm opening up my law firm, as said earlier. And of course, with that guy who discriminated me, heavily discriminated me, he was fired because the client that we have was the one who said to my principal that if she leaves, we're pulling out our account in here. And so that's the reason why I said it's time for me to be an inspiration to people, that it doesn't matter if you're color, you're a brown one, because I call myself the brown monkey who became the legally brown. So that's how I do it now. So this is what I have written in my book. Thank you so much again.
Thank you. Feeling incredibly humbled to be here. I wanted to inspire women to lean into their leadership. I worked in corporate, and the thing that you notice a lot of times with leaders, and generally they tend to be more men than women, is they're great at being strong and they're not so good at being kind. And those two things don't need to be mutually exclusive. And women tend to be really good at that. And so I wanted to inspire more women to lean into their leadership with strength and kindness. Too often leadership is the stressor in any organisation, and it should be the superpower, because it is only through your people that you can create true impact. And when we realise that and we embrace that and we build relationships built on trust and kindness, then the world will be a better place.
beautiful. So my next question for each of you is, tell us about the writing process. For some people it's hard, for some people it's very healing, for some people it's easy and joyful. But I'd love to hear what this process was like for you of going back through your story and writing it down. So we'll start with you, Justine.
Yeah, when the email came in that I'd been selected for the book, I actually had to leave it in my inbox for about 3 days. I couldn't touch it because I couldn't believe it. And my VA said to me, you know, the email's in about the book. I'm like, I know, but I just can't believe it happened. And then the dates lined up with me traveling through Vietnam, and then I've just spent 3 months living and working in Bali. And so that's where I wrote the book. It was cathartic for me. It did bring up a lot more emotion than I expected. I wrote, there was a period of time when I lost my mum, and I went through a divorce, and it wasn't at the best time in my life, but it got me to where I am. And yeah, it's helped me shift the way I think about my business, because it made me think about how did I end up here and what are my true messages and why are they? And so now I'm dipping more into the meaning.
Beautiful, beautiful.
When I was writing this book, I leave it the last minute because I was so busy and I was trying to prove myself that I need to be the lawyer that my community or the people who trust me. So I always just like, okay, work as a lawyer. And when I was writing this book, I was like, oh, I don't know what to write. But then when I started writing, I said, there's more out in there that needs me. And if I bring this book, a lot of people will be empowered and a lot of people will be inspired. So I sat there for an hour and I just like finished it, and I ended up like 3,000 words, and I was like, oh my God, this is too much. So I said like, oh, I think I'll let them do the editing. So because I don't have the time. But yes, that was a story. It's very inspiring. It's my first time to write a book, but thank you.
So for me, I've published probably 12 academic papers. My writing is very technical. My writing is very dry. It's not a lot of fun because you're literally doing statistical analysis with everything you do. So everything has to go back to a number. This was the first time that I actually got to sit down and just write from my heart and write about an experience where it was relatable, that likely every single person has had an experience where they've felt like they were completely helpless in the moment. And my background is actually in neuroscience. And so what's really cool about our brain is that if we can think about something that we've been successful at, it actually helps us reroute to being more confident. And what was fascinating for me was that here I was writing this book and feeling very helpless, very exposed, very vulnerable in ways that I don't know I've ever allowed myself to do. So for me, it was such a beautiful opportunity to crack that open. It was like putting my toe in before I actually write my full book, which I'm really inspired to do next. So thank you.
I love that. Also continuing on that theme, I had written a lot of scripts and a lot of films, but it was never my voice. It was the voice of the story or the voice from the scientists that I was working with or the voice from what was happening there from a climate scenario. And when I sat down to write it, I thought, oh, I'm actually going to write from my voice. And I thought, that's a really different experience. And I thought about it for a little while, and then I sat down to write. And it brought up a lot of challenges that I had when I was filming in 2012, 2013, which is a big project I worked on, a year in development, 2 years filming, and a year in post. But it reminded me of why I did it. And it was at a time where I was debating whether to push forward to do the story 10 years on. And I actually found myself dipping back into the emotion of why I did what I did and connecting back with myself to realize that I didn't really have an option. I had to do this next series, and I really dipped into why I had to do it from my heart. So I was so grateful when you asked me to be part of the book piece, and Katie, because it just came at such a crossroad and it really helped me propel forward to what I'm doing next year. So thank you.
For me, I'm an author, I'm a writer, and I'm also, I coach, but I don't coach for grammatical editing. I coach women to help them find their voice so they can write their stories. So I do more of content editing. And so being an author and a co-author before, it was easy for me. But for me, it gave me an opportunity to kind of, solidify what my message is and to get it out there on a broader stage of just being your true authentic self. And what was different for me, my girls are always my encouragement. My daughter is here today. And so they're always in front, everybody's waving. So they're always, you know, my inspiration for everything I do. This time was a little hard for me because I had my daughter's best friend who was fighting for her life at the same time that, sorry, a little emotional, at the same time that I was writing this book and she didn't make it. So she became my greater inspiration for this book because that was one of her struggles. And so many young women are going through so much because social media has become their mirror. And we don't understand the pressures that our young women are going through. So this book was a little more emotional for me, but it also just solidified the message that I've been living. And so I'm passionate and I'm grateful that other women are going to read the book and we get to talk about the elephant in the room. So thank you.
We are definitely soul sisters, not only because the work that we do, but similarly, I own a publishing house that's by women, for women, to celebrate and showcase women and to empower them to use their voice and to tell their stories. And so, as a ghostwriter, I've written thousands of pieces over the last 30 years for many, many people. And similarly to, as we've heard here, that's not using my voice. As a ghostwriter, you're writing for them. But in my work of working with women to tell their own stories and to lead book writing retreats and help them really dig it out and do their full book, with every woman I've been able to help, I've been able to further solidify my own voice and my own message. And so similarly, for me, this was easy. This was less than an hour and it was done because I have spent so much time finding my own voice and using it. And the message I shared in the book is really foundational to how I live. It's really foundational to any talks that I give. It's really foundational to the late night chats with friends and sisters and clients. And so it's really an embodiment of who I have become throughout the process over these years. And so any chance there's an opportunity to live that embodied message even more, to reach even more women, to hopefully inspire, empower, uplift, for them to be able to embody their beauty, their worth, their power. Yeah, couldn't say no. So thank you for the opportunity to reach even more women and to be part of this incredible community of world changers.
Cuando escribí el libro, hice como que una retrospectiva de mi vida y creo que fue un poco para sanar lo que faltaba todavía terminar por sanar.
When I wrote this, yeah,
when I wrote the book, because you can hear me, it was more to try to cure myself, to try to think about the past and have a retrospective of how I have lived so far.
Creo que algunas mujeres nos golpea fuerte la vida, nos caemos o nos levantamos, o morimos o vivimos.
For some women, life is difficult, and we have chances to either fall or to get up or to fall down and just stay there.
Y yo decidí vivir, y esta experiencia de escribir el libro me ha hecho mucho bien al alma, y puedan leerlo las personas que están pasando por problemas difíciles, que todo se puede cuando abrimos el corazón hacia afuera.
Oh, it's okay.
No, ok.
Despacito, despacito.
Ok.
Despacito.
Sorry. Para mí, el haber escrito el libro, estoy ayudando a muchas mujeres para que también tengan un cambio, de que la vida a veces se nos pone difícil.
For me to write this book, I'm hoping to inspire other women because they can have problems or they can have difficulties in their lives, and sometimes life is difficult. And she wrote this book to try to hopefully incentivize other women.
Gracias acá a ti, a Paz, y a las personas que han estado involucradas en este libro.
Thank you, Pace, and everybody who was involved in the creation of this book.
Yo creo que este libro va a llegar muy, muy, muy en alto, ya lo está haciendo.
I think this book is going to achieve really big goals, and I think it's already doing that.
Siento la satisfacción de saber de que este libro ha curado mi vida,
I feel the satisfaction that this book has cured my life, basically make my life better.
y me ha hecho ser una mujer más fuerte.
It has made me be a stronger woman.
Y si estoy aquí delante de todos ustedes,
And I'm here in front of all of you.
a veces con los ojos llorosos,
My eyes are starting to tear up,
no es porque sea débil,
not because I'm weak.
porque aprendí a ver del corazón hacia afuera el dolor de los demás.
It's because I learned to look with my heart what is the pain on other people.
Viajo por el mundo, por muchos países, llevando un mensaje de amor.
I travel around the world in many countries, taking with me a message of love.
Fue lo único que me ayudó para comprenderme a mí misma.
It was the only thing that helped me to understand myself.
Voy llevando el mensaje de amor y ayudando a los artistas con diferentes discapacidades.
I have a message of love and also to love artists with many disabilities.
El amor me ha hecho abrir caminos por diferentes países y he logrado muchas cosas para ellos.
Love has made me bring this message to different countries and to achieve many more things for them.
A todas las mujeres que están sufriendo o han sufrido o aún están en su proceso,
To all the women who have suffered, are currently suffering, or will suffer in the future,
nos caemos, es verdad, pero nos levantamos con más fuerza.
we fall down, it's true, but we should get up even stronger when we get up.
Y para terminar,
And to end,
todo lo que ven que he conseguido, todos los títulos, todos los premios que vengo ganando en mi país y fuera de él,
every single award I have ever won, every achievement that I have ever conquered,
han sido por la misericordia y el amor de Dios que puso sus ojos en mí.
is because God put his eyes on me and is helping me through.
Sé que el sufrimiento pasa y el amor queda para siempre.
She knows that suffering goes away eventually, but he stays with you forever.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Oh man, how do you follow that? So, and when I was born with a twin sister. It was an identical twin sister. We literally looked the same. Nobody could tell. When we picked up the phone, even my mother used to say, "Who's that?" because she didn't know if it was me or my sister. So one of the complaints that my sister used to have about me is that I just don't work. She's like, focus on your job, stop doing other things. She used to call them the extracurricular activities. I will get my friends to go run a marathon. I will donate to the food bank. I will do all kinds of things. But one of the things that I did once was volunteer to be a mentor for women entrepreneurs for the Department of State. And what we do is women come from Africa, from the Middle East, or from Southeast Asia to the United States. And they spend 6 weeks here with people like me who coach them in how to start a business that solves a local problem, usually with technology. Sometimes it's not. So for me, telling my story is not new because I was involved with those people with that program. I'm also a speaker for the United States State Department. So I travel around the world speaking to women mainly about technology, about empowerment, about how to be the only woman in the room when you have 1,000 men in the technology career. So I knew what I was going to write, but I didn't know how to write it. And I love to write, but English is not my first language. So I was like, oh, I need to do it. I need to do it. And then I had a trip to India that I had to go to. And I was like, I need to turn this in before I go to India because my trip to India was pretty packed. And I think in a month ahead of time, I turned it in, but I didn't know how to write it. But the one thing that happened is in 2020, my sister passed away. And I had never been away from her for more than 3 days. We lived together, we grew up together, we came to the United States together. So what I decided one day, I had an hour to write a book. That was all I had. And I said, I'm going to write it the way she would have described me, the way she would have described our journey to be here. And the words just flew. I mean, they just kept coming. And the funny part was English is my second language. So I was like, please, I need a ghostwriter, please. And then when the ghostwriter sent the notes back, she barely fixed anything. So I was very grateful for that because it actually shows the life that we had and the bond that we had. And I wrote it as, what would Polly, my sister, say about your life? That's the way I wrote it.
So, this is the 7th book I've written, and I know at the start it was a very emotional journey, and it healed a lot for me owning my story. I love that quote from Brene Brown. She says, when you own your story, you get to write a brave new ending. And I think for me, going through sexual abuse trauma, a lot of the time I didn't know why it happened. I was very much stuck in the early stages of healing, that in that victim mindset of this happened to me. But every time I've written a book or owned my story on a stage, it's always allowed me to write a brave new ending and help another woman through her own journey. But for this particular book, I was actually going through an ovarian cancer scare. And it was the first time for me as I was writing this message that it propelled me into my future. It wasn't so much about my past because it really brought up to my awareness that we actually don't know how long we have, no matter the age we are. I'm 32 years, but I started to think to myself, well, what is the message that I want to be remembered for? And that's what I wrote about in this book. And it's also given me the courage to be here in New York to launch my American in-person speaking tour next year. Ovarian cancer represents suppressed creativity. And so sometimes we think we're really successful and we've been doing all these things, but our body knows that we're only just getting started. So if you're out there, you've got a book, you've got a talk, you've got something, take this as the sign to just do it.
My gosh, fabulous. Oh, these incredible women. They're so amazing. So I'd love to ask now the title, Women Living Fearlessly. What does living fearlessly look like or mean for each of you? We'll start with you, Samantha.
That feels like a tough question. I think fearlessly, uncontained. I think when you ditch being a good girl and everything that comes with that, and you allow yourself to be uncontained in your authenticity, for me, that's fearless, that's free, because you might be too much for the room. to be your authentic self. You might be too less, but when you belong truly and deeply to yourself, like that for me is fearless. That's liberation and freedom.
For me, living fearlessly doesn't mean the absence of fear. It means you do things even when you're afraid. And every time you do one more thing that you were afraid of doing before, you do it and you conquer another goal. And in the transition from goal to goal, you become fearless in the life that you live.
Para mí significa que cuando las mujeres nos marcamos la diferencia, cuando nos empoderamos de una forma primero de amor propio,
For me, living fearlessly means that we empower ourselves to love ourselves first.
podemos crear muchas cosas, hasta lo imposible se hace realidad con la fuerza que tenemos todas las mujeres.
We can create many things, and we can do this with the power that all us women have.
Y bueno, para mí lo más importante es el amor y con ello se hace todo.
For her, the most important thing is love, and you can do anything with love.
Thank you.
Yes?
So, piggybacking on what I touched on earlier, for me, when I saw that the title was Women Living Fearlessly, I ran because I was like, oh, hello, mirror, self, life, embodiment. That is just so resonant with me. But what Women Living Fearlessly truly means to me is, as you said, it's feel the fear and do it anyway. But it's that alignment when you are called to your true why. It's the pull towards the thing that is so much bigger than you. It's living in your purpose. It's living in your passion. It's radiating your light. And it's really, as you were touching on earlier, knowing who you are, whose you are, why you're here, and leaning into that, knowing that you matter, that your life matters, your pain matters, your experiences matter, your voice matters, and you're here for a reason. And so for me, Women Living Fearlessly is do the thing, right? Lean into that purpose, lean into that mission, lean into that vision that is beyond yourself. So it's getting out of your own way and doing the thing that you were put on this earth to do in the way that only you can.
I have an answer, but I love what she said about love because there's a scripture that says perfect love casts out all fear. So I really love what she said. But I feel like living fearlessly to me means rebelling against the norm and doing it again despite fear. It's like making a decision every single day to show up your true authentic self. So if I had one word, it would be, that one little phrase, rebel against the norm would be what I say.
I think it's very hard to continue. This is an amazing conversation. I think we all have a lot of similar ground and similar heart space. I know that for me, I've been very privileged to have a number of life-death moments in very far-flung places that taught me a lot about what it is to be fearless as a female. And I think last year, being back in Antarctica after 10 years, I realized that my experiences had actually helped me find my voice. I felt so comfortable being there last year, leading a crew. I was very privileged to actually have my son with me as part of the crew. And I realized that living fearlessly is also about leadership, leadership in family, leadership in community, what you lead and live for, that your children see and that your community sees around you. And so I think living fearlessly, we do so much for all women and all community, for our children, our daughters. And I think it's just taught me the importance of our voice to be able to be that change maker, whatever room we're in or whatever group we're in. We actually help people think a little bit outside the square, and we nudge them a bit to be a little bit uncomfortable, but in doing that, they find another part of themselves. So I think wrapping all that up, it was a great title that you chose. Thank you.
So fear is actually an emotion that is meant to put us into motion. Fear, the way that it's been socialized, is that it stops us, it prevents us from doing things. And so for me, when I was invited to be part of this and I saw the title piece, I was like, oh my goodness, this is the right time to dig into this element of really owning the chemistry. I know, sorry, geeking out here, but I can't help it. But geeking out on the chemistry and how we have to get out of that space of being stopped by what we perceive is our societal norms. And so using the emotion of fear to really drive us to keep going and to not stop and to continue to get up and continue to work towards things that will make us grow and learn and live to our fullest potential. Thank you.
Trying hard to find the words in here because you've said everything already, majority of you. So good. What is fearlessly for me? I think fearlessly is living a life for others and creating a pathway to those who cannot speak or to those who cannot fight for themselves. So when I moved to Australia by myself, I said, what shall I do in here? I don't know anything. And again, I'm just this little spoiled brat before from the Philippines, but now I'm here by myself. But I believe that my parents put me in Australia to become somebody. So I said, I need to do something for others and not for me, to create an impact for the Filipino community and for others. And being a lawyer, at first, being a manager of a company and soon to be general manager before, I said, I think I have done something good because I've been given the position that a Filipino cannot even get. But when I was offered the general manager position, I said, I don't want to be a general manager. I want to be a lawyer. So I studied law and I said, I need to be the person for others. I need to be that one person that they will always look up, because I know how hard it is to be discriminated and to be talked down and being said that we are just like a cleaner or nobody. But now there is a lawyer in, which is me. So that's what living fearlessly is for me. Thank you.
I believe that we all have a responsibility to leave the world a little better off for whatever it is that we choose to do. And I think for women, we often don't lean into that, or we shy away from it because we allow our experiences to get in the way. And for me, living fearlessly is about, one, embracing all of you, because it's when you're when you step into yourself that you can create the biggest impact. But the other thing is around having an experimental mindset. You can't fail an experiment. The whole idea is that you test and learn. And I think when we embrace all of ourselves and we have an experimental mindset, then we can leave the world a little better off. And that's what it's about for me.
much to all of our authors for being here and sharing your stories with us today. I've really enjoyed it, and I think our audience has as well. We're now having a break, so please take the opportunity to come and chat with your favorite authors and get photos with them, and then we'll be joining back shortly. Thank you, everyone. We've got some afternoon tea.
No, la otra. Yes, yes.
Qué bueno. ¿Y lo escribiste en inglés o en español?
Español, me han ayudado.
O sea,